And so, Mark, can you take us through the process of the times you've experienced imposter syndrome and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, Samuel. I think for me, it's always in those times where you're reaching out for something more than where you're at, right? When
Yes.
things are easy, or I have all the knowledge or wisdom, or I've done it a million times. In those times, really stress, in most cases doesn't happen, but it's when you're reaching higher, you're dreaming bigger, you're believing for more, that maybe those things happen there. For me, would happen in business. So my wife and I started a business. It was a service-based business. And you have two things in business. You have expenses and you have income.
Right,
And
right.
sometimes your income doesn't reach as far as your expenses do.
Nope.
And in those places you start to find, yourself having these conversations of, should I have done this? Was this God's will for my life? Am I really meant to do this? Should I just get a job? Should I just settle for the life I did have, not the life I'm striving for? So it's really in those places, and because it's really you believing that you're not qualified for what you're walking into or what
Mhm.
you're working in. And that's really for us, the things we do in life mastery is a indication that there's an identity issue. Not that you don't know who you are, but maybe you're living from a place. I tell people this: you're either living from who you're created to be
Mhm.
or what your life has told you, your past, your pains, the experiences you've walked through. And in that place, for us, it's really starting to unpack some of those things to figure out who are you created to be. Because I believe, Samuel, that every person has an impact in the world, that there's an impact that has their name on it, that is going to change their world and the world around them because they lived. And it's really starting to understand that maybe you are that person and you can become the individual that you're created to be so you can have that impact, not, shrink back when challenges and stress happens.
That's awesome. And I like the idea that you shared in terms of discovering who you are created to be and not who the world is telling you to be or what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because most often time, the reason why this imposter syndrome kicks us and succumb us down is because we are trying to follow someone else's blueprint, not our own blueprint, not what God has destined us to be, not the blueprint that God has given us for our life. And
Yeah.
as human psychology, something you're not confident in, something that you're not the one in charge, you're not the one who designed it, and you're not the one who consent to it, you're likely to feel like, oh, I don't want them to see that I lack the expertise in this area. I don't want them to see
Yeah.
that, oh, I'm not really good in that. But when you know that this is what you're meant to do, when you know this is what God created you for, and it tells you, son, this is your purpose, this is what I brought you to this earth for, there's this level of confidence you have. It's just different to when the word tells you this is what you should be from when God tells you who you should be. And it all boils down to your faith, the kind of faith you have and your relationship you have with God. And all of those things helps to shape your level of confidence in yourself and in your ability to journey through that process.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think the thing I see in the Bible is two things. I see God that He would reach out to somebody, tell them who they're created to be, and then tell them the purpose of their life, the things
Life.
that were to do. And
Mhm.
in that place, it really is twofold. It's really understanding that you're already created for that purpose, and
Right.
then understanding what the purpose is. Right? What's the impact? What's the desire? What's
Mhm.
the design on your life? And so, a lot of times we just kind of live our life by default. It's I title of my book, "Life Mastery: Living Life by Design."
Mhm.
Or
Not by
not by
default.
default. The default is really just kind of living out a life that maybe, like you said, other people may have told you you should do. You're
Mhm.
supposed to get this degree, you're supposed to have this job, you're supposed to go into this career, versus the thing that makes you you. One of my
Right.
favorite men of the Bible is a guy named Gideon, who is a young man doing work for his family in hiding because the enemies of his people were stealing their things. So when they had a harvest, he'd steal it. When they had an increase in their flock and all of the animals that they had, those people would come in and steal it. An angel came and told him this. They sat on the rock, and the angel said, "Greetings, mighty man of valor," to a young man in hiding.
Mhm.
A lot of times I believe that, what I tell people is I help you unlock and unleash your hero in hiding in your
Mhm.
business or job relationships in life. I believe that they're in many cases that hero in hiding, the person that we're meant to be, the life that we're meant to have, is a little bit in hiding. It's not that we don't accomplish stuff. It's just that we don't have that passion, that zeal, that desire and passion that we have to live that life that we're created for. And so it's my great joy to help people get to that place. But it's not because I figured out the idea on myself. It's because I saw the pattern in the Word of God of how He interacted with his children. First off, telling them who they're created to be, and then telling them the life that they were created for.